Hey there, Danny here, and welcome to today's video. Now, what if I told you that it's possible to get completely accurate data in Meta Ads Manager, which can be achieved after the trials and tribulations we've had with iOS 14, and in doing so, you can reduce your advertising costs. Well, I'm going to explain all about this in today's video. Now, lots and lots of people are still talking about the fallout of iOS 14. That was the change that was enforced back in April, I think it was released 2022. And it gave users of Apple's iOS devices, that's iPhones, iPads, etc. It gave them the option for every single app that was installed, including Facebook and Instagram. Once that iOS 14 operating system was updated, then users got the opportunity or option to opt out. There's lots of opts in there to opt out of being tracked when they leave that application. Okay. And lots and lots of people decided, yeah, I think that's a good thing. I don't want to be tracked. Now, I want to explain why I think that's a bad idea in a second. But the way that Facebook track their users once they leave the Facebook application is using a little piece of code called a pixel. You, as an advertiser, would install the pixel on your website. And then before iOS 14, that meant that Facebook could kind of see what pages you were visiting on certain websites. And what that meant is that when Facebook combined that off-app data with their in-app data, they could build up a pretty comprehensive profile of their users. And that meant that they could show them hyper-targeted ads that were very, very relevant. Now, that's the reason why I think that opting out of being tracked, I don't think that it was made clear enough, certainly not by Apple, that you're still going to be shown ads. You're still going to see ads on the apps that you're using, but they're probably going to be less relevant because Facebook won't know as much about you because they can't track. There's lots of reasons why, and all of this will become clear. So opting out kind of meant a degraded user experience. It wasn't going to be, sometimes I see ads for handbags. I generally don't buy handbags. I have no weekend handbag things going on that you don't know about. But yeah, it's and I've opted in, by the way. I've opted in. I understood the ramifications of what would happen if I'd have opted out. Now, I'm not going to go into a rant about iOS 14. That's not what I want to talk about today. But what I do want to share with you is some stuff that we've been seeing that is going to help advertisers in two different ways. I'm going to start off by talking about the importance of data, right? Now, you can run ads for all sorts of outcomes, right? You can run ads to generate leads. You can run ads to generate sales. You can run ads to get brand awareness. You can run ads if you've got an app to get that installed on people's devices. Loads and loads of different things, right? You can drive traffic to an e-com store. Okay, there's lots of reasons why you'd run ads. Now, I like to use the analogy of generating leads or list building because that's one thing that my agency helps our clients to do lots and lots of, right? We're big on, audience growth because it's very important when you're selling information products online. So with that in mind, I'm going to pop over to my iPad, if I can get the correct app open. Pop over to my iPad and I'm going to show you a traditional funnel. And if you've seen my videos before, you'll recognize this slide, but I'm just going to talk you through it and where the kind of challenge occurs with data tracking. So if I go here, you should be able to see that. Now, if I'm looking down here, it's because that's where my iPad is. So this is a typical list building funnel, a typical funnel that you'd run to grow your audience and grow your email list. So starts off with a Facebook ad here. And traditionally, what people have done for eons is they've sent people from a Facebook ad to a landing page. Okay, that's a separate, they take them out of the Facebook application to another third-party website. When I say third-party, I mean it's just not linked to Facebook directly. And then, what usually happens is people will enter their name and email, and then once they do that, they'll get taken to a thank you page, and then stuff happens over here, which I'm not really going to go into because it's not too relevant for today's training. So the Facebook pixel is installed here and it's installed here. And what happens is that Facebook used to be able to track everybody, almost everybody, that was able to go on this journey, right? So if you, as a viewer of this video, went on that journey, then and you followed this funnel, you went to my landing page that I used to have up and running, and in fact, I still do, and you opted in and then you hit the thank you page. On the thank you page, I would have a lead event installed. And that means that Facebook would know that you've become a lead. I'm not going to go into all of the kind of benefits of the pixel, because again, that's not really what today's training is about. But this is a typical journey that you would take a user on if you were sending them to a traditional website. Now, the problem since iOS 14 came about back in April, it came about a little bit before, but it was officially launched, I think, in April, is that when people leave Facebook and they go to the website, if people have opted out and they're on an Apple device, like an iPhone or an iPad, then you can't track them all the way through. And this is a very simple funnel, right? It's only two phases, two stages, like a landing page and a thank you page. There are obviously a lot more sophisticated funnels out there that might have, additional sales offers at the end, or there's all sorts of ways that you can construct a funnel. So this is a relatively simple example. What that means is that iOS 14, without diving into all of the geeky detail, has made it much more difficult for Meta or Facebook to get as much data as they could previously. Now, what that means is that advertisers who are using this approach, or I guess any approach where they're sending traffic off of Facebook to, some kind of third-party website, they don't have enough data to accurately track the performance of their ads, because they're not getting as much data as they were pre-iOS 14, right? That leads to issues in a number of areas, but one of those is optimizing, right? Because if you are what I call manually optimizing your ads, here's an example. Let's say you're running 5 different ads and you're testing different images to see which one's going to convert the best. If you're not getting all of the data through, because you're sending people off of Facebook to a landing page and to a thank you page, for example, and not all of that data is coming back, then how are you going to be able to tell, looking in the Ads Manager interface, where all of the data is presented to you, which ones are the best performers? How are you going to be able to know which ones you should turn off and which ones you shouldn't, right? And remember this, it's not only advertisers who can optimize campaigns by, making our own adjustments. Facebook has a very, very comprehensive algorithm. It uses machine learning, and that machine learning obviously relies on data. So Facebook is constantly automatically looking at, where should I place this ad? Should I put it in the Instagram feed, in the Facebook feed, in Messenger advertising space? Should I show it to this user? Should I show it to that user? All of these decisions are made in real time, very, very quickly using the algorithm. But if it doesn't have enough data, how can it optimize as efficiently as it could previously? Where is it going to spend the budget? Those kinds of things. So a lack of data for advertisers is a massive, massive headache. How do we overcome it? That's the question. Well, the good news is that you can overcome it, and I think you can give users a better experience, and you can reduce your ad costs. And I'm going to show you an example of how we've achieved that. So the answer is that instead of running campaigns, I just want to make sure I'm still on here, that send users off of Facebook to a landing page like this with the pixel installed, that's where you start to lose the data, right? What you want to do instead is run in-app campaigns that keep them on the platform, at least as much as possible. Sometimes you're going to need to, if you've got like a high ticket information products, then you're probably going to need to send people to a sales page or a video sales letter that's going to kind of talk about the benefits and what's in it for them, and all of the kind of good stuff that you need to share with people in order to help them understand that whether or not that's the right product or service for them. Okay, but let's just keep the analogy simple here, and we'll just use this kind of funnel that I've been talking about. So keeping them on the platform is a good thing, because even if a user has opted out of being tracked from that iOS 14 prompt, which I spoke about earlier, that only counts for tracking when they leave the app, right? Any activity that takes place inside the bubble of the app is 100% trackable. So instead of running this traditional funnel that I have just been through with you, you can switch to what we call lead generation campaigns, lead generation objective campaigns, and use instant forms. And I'll show you an example of that now. So if I just quickly come back to you like this, and then I'm going to switch to make sure I go to the right place. Here we go. So here is an example of an ad that I'm currently running. I'm not going to take you through the whole makeup of it, but in essence, I'm offering a lead magnet. And I've got to remember I can't use my little highlighter because I'm in a browser now, not in the other app. But my lead magnet is all about how to avoid making mistakes with Facebook ads, because loads of people make them and they just think they're a complete pain in the backside. But, you know, this kind of helps people to see, oh, okay, there is a better way to do it and maybe it will work. If I click on download, so I'm in the Facebook. In fact, I'm in a browser at the moment because I couldn't get this to work in the Facebook app, but the principle's the same. If I click on download, then a form pops up, and this is popped up in Facebook, and it's got my name, and I can enter my email. I'm not going to go through this process because it's not the point, but the point I want to make here is that we're keeping people inside the Facebook experience. They're not having to go to another website. Just because this is running in a browser window, don't let that distract you. I was trying to make this work on my iPad with the actual app itself, but I couldn't get it to work. But this is the experience that people would have in the Facebook app on their phone or on their iPad. Okay, so they have this form that pops up, and then once you complete the form, a little page comes up saying, hey, thanks, I've got your details, you know, check your email inbox because, you know, the lead magnet's on its way, and why not join my Facebook community at the same time? So it serves the same purpose, but you're keeping people in the application itself. So, what are the good things about this, right? Well, the good thing is that because you're keeping them in Facebook, all of the data is captured. You don't lose anything to the iOS 14 pixel headache, okay? Another good thing about this is that from a user experience perspective, they don't have to wait for a website page to load. They're not leaving the app. It's nice and clean, and what we call in marketing terms, frictionless, or at least there's a lot less friction. So what that's going to mean is that because the user experience it has less friction, you will get more leads. Because, you know, if you think about the way that these funnels work, at every point a user has to do something, you will lose people. So if someone has to wait for a browser window to open and a web page to load, you will lose people. That's not going to happen here. So you will get more leads, and that in essence means a better cost per lead, right? As I've said many times, Facebook want to keep users on the platform. Okay, and what that means, and I'm going to demonstrate this to you in a second, is a lower CPM. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the term CPM, it stands for cost per mille, M-I-L-L-E, which I believe is the French word for 1,000. It's cost per 1,000 impressions. And it's often looked at by advertisers as a key metric in terms of how expensive is it for me to run these ads. Okay. Now, the other good thing about this is that Meta are really putting a lot of focus on this to circumvent the challenges of iOS 14. What that means, well, that's a good thing because it means that it's going to continually improve over time. For almost all of the clients that we work with in our agency, we are now at least testing this, and for many of them, they've switched over completely to this way of running ads to grow their audience. Okay, as a result of that, and the reason they've done that, is because they're getting better results. And I'll show you now a screenshot from one of the clients that we're working with at the moment. So let me just come back to you here. No, not like that. I'll get the hang of this one day. So I need to go back to the other app. Here we go. So this is a screenshot from a current client that we're working with, and I'll talk you through what you can see, and hopefully you can see that well enough on the screen. But first thing to note is that we are looking at the last 14 days. Okay, this is current data from a current campaign. What you're looking at is, if you look at the start date here, we've got 3 campaigns, one that started on the 22nd of July, one a couple of days later, and then this one started a couple of weeks ago. These, we're going to work from the bottom to the top here. So these 2 campaigns here and here are conversion objective campaigns. What that means is that we were sending users. This was a lead magnet ad, very similar scenario to what I've just explained to you. We were sending traffic to a landing page and a thank you page, right? Traditional funnel. Now, what are the key metrics? I think the first key metric to look at is the cost per result over here. So this one, £10.10 per lead. Not where we'd want it to be. By the way, historically, this client was used to seeing leads around £4 to £5 each. It started to see them really climb up. So we came in and said, hey, let's have a look at this and see what we can do to get your cost per lead down. So started at £10.10 per lead. We tested a second conversion objective campaign, and we were getting £5.92. So we kind of almost halved the lead cost, not quite halved it, but we managed to significantly reduce the lead cost. Then we decided to switch to a lead form. Okay, we'd done our testing with the conversion objective ads. We got to a certain point, but I said, no, we can go further with this. So working with the ads manager who's looking after the account, I said, right, let's set up a lead form campaign. And as you can see, we managed to get the lead cost down to, what is that, £2.79 per lead. Incredible change. Very, very happy client. That's a really good thing, right? We've managed to get the cost per lead down. And think about what I've explained to you today, keeping the user on in-app or on-app, whatever in-app we'll call it. The user experience is better, right? We're getting a better cost per lead. But here's the other thing. If you look at the last column here, this is the CPM. This is the cost of running those ads. And for the 2 conversion objective campaigns, we had £30, then we got it down to £20. But for the lead form ad, we're being charged $14.87 currently, CPM, right? So we've halved it from the initial campaign. So the cost of running these ads is cheaper. What that means is that if you think about this campaign, it was costing us £30 for every 1,000 impressions. Every time 1,000 people saw that ad, it was going to cost you 30 quid. Now we've halved that. So you're going to get double for your money, right? Double the amount of impressions. And you can see here how much bigger the, I haven't got the impressions number here, but the reach number is not going to be too different. So that's a fantastic example of how you can keep all of the data. You don't have to worry about the iOS 14 challenges because you're keeping them in-app, so you can optimize efficiently, the algorithm can work effectively, and all of the other benefits that I've mentioned, and you're getting a much better cost per lead. So in summary, no, actually not in summary, I was thinking about this. This is kind of like a closing thought, because when the iOS 14 changes were announced, there was a massive amount of upheaval in the world of Facebook advertisers. I have seen in my, 9 years, I think I've been working with Facebook ads now, I've seen a number of shifts. Things happen. I think about the privacy challenges that came about, where a lot of the targeting options were taken away and advertisers were up in arms saying, this is the end. How are we going to be able to run effective ads without all of these targeting options? There were ways, and we worked around it, and we got results. But when Apple decided to pull the rug out, it was a big tremor in the world of online advertising. When they pulled the rug out from under everybody's feet, everybody was thinking, well, look, so many people are on iOS 14 devices, it's going to be a catastrophe. And people were saying it might be the end of Facebook advertising. And looking back now, I think, were the senior stakeholders at Meta, were the shareholders at Meta actually sitting there with a wry smile on their face? Because they must have known, well, they would have known, obviously, that the challenge was impacting people leaving the app. Now, if you run a social media company, if you run a social media platform, you want to keep people on the app as much as possible. So they doubled down their efforts. They created, the lead generation objective was already in existence, but they've really kind of enhanced it and made it work, as you can see from the example I've showed you. They've made it work really, really well. Let me come back to you. They've made it work really, really well. So, this was kind of disruptive, right? And it was intended to be so, I believe, by Apple. Apple have done well off the back of it. But the upshot of it is that Meta continue to develop and enhance their in-app solutions. They've got, for e-commerce businesses that are used to sending traffic to places like Shopify, they've got the Facebook store now, and that's going to continue to be enhanced and developed. So Facebook are looking at this thinking, hey, people are staying on in our app for longer. That's a good thing because they can show more ads and they can make more money. And isn't that the goal, right, for any social media platform? So look, I'm going to leave it there for today. If you've got any questions on anything I've shared, drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this. I did see a comment come through in StreamYard. So let's see. Hey, Alex, how are you, my friend? It's great to see you, by the way, when you came over. Alex is a friend of mine from school, lives in Australia. I live in the UK, and he came over for a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and we managed to hook up for a bit of lunch, which was great. So Alex says, Apple would probably position it as giving the people the option of opting in instead of the default position being opted in. Slight difference, but one that's allowed Apple to take their stance on privacy for consumers. I totally agree with that. And also, I think that their stance on privacy for consumers was quite an aggressive one. I don't mean aggressive in the way, but they went for that messaging really strongly. We are the people's champion. They didn't really talk about, the relevance of ads that are being shown. I can understand why people don't want to be tracked. They think being tracked online is an evil thing. And perhaps in some cases it is. But in this instance, I just think that Facebook are all about, they want the data, The data's good for Facebook because Facebook know that they've got a good service to provide their advertising community, people like me. But also it means that the user experience is better. I don't want to see ads about handbags and what other weird ones have I seen? Like underwear, female underwear. It's not, it's not me. I don't know why I'm seeing it, but apparently I am. And every time I see them, I keep hiding the ad and blocking the advertiser just so that I can, start to try and get my feed back to some sort of sense of normality. Anyway, that's it from me. Any questions, drop them in the comments, and I will be back with you in another video very soon. Until then, take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.